I was about 8 years old. It was around Christmas time. I remember waking up and running downstairs because I was so excited to open my gifts that my parents got me. I could hardly sleep the night before, and the day finally arrived. Filled with glee, I looked over at the presents and I saw this strange looking doll just staring up at me from on top of a red present. I felt goosebumps rise all over me. I wonder where they got this from. I thought in silence as I walked over to the doll. Seeing closer up, it had black, soulless eyes staring at me. Everything on its face was painted. Its eyes were designed beautifully curved at the ends where the eyelashes swept up. Its mouth left lackluster of an expression and with light pink blush on each side of its cheeks. The nose, though, was almost non-existent. It looked like it was never finished. "Hey, honey, Merry Christmas," my mom said as she walked down the stairs in her plaited red and black pajamas. She smiled so brightly, like she didn't just raise from the dead asleep. I looked over my shoulder and smiled at her as she went past and kissed me on the forehead. "So what do you think?" she asked as she knelt down in front of me by the doll. Looking at it and back at her, I shrugged my shoulder a bit, because honestly, I had no idea. I've never seen anything like it. None of my friends ever had one that I had noticed, so I didn't know exactly what to say. "I don't know. It's different," I explained. She rubbed my arm gently and looked over at it with a smile. "I know. I wanted to get you something unique. I went to this antique shop and saw it and thought you would like it," she explained as she went out to the kitchen to brew up some coffee. While she was away, I picked up the doll and looked at it more thoroughly. The face was like glass, could easily break. I played with the curly gold locks, which resembled human hair. So much so, I thought. Its hands were plastic and didn't really match the tone of the face. The outfit was pink and white pinstriped, with flared at the end of the cuffs that were white with designs of flowers on them. "It's kinda cute," I smiled to myself, then put the doll down on the table and went to the kitchen to help my mom with breakfast. "What are we cooking?" I looked over at my mom as she cracked an egg in a bowl and started mixing it with milk. I heard my dad stomp down the stairs. He can never hide how zombified he was in the morning. "How does scrambled eggs and toast sound?" she asked. I nodded my head in agreement and went over to the pantry to take out the bread, which was one shelf too high. Thankfully, my dad came in the nick of time to grab it for me. "There you go, sweetie." He smiled with his old, untrimmed face as he handed off to me the bag. I opened it up for the bread and put it in the toaster. After all was said and done, and we sat at the table and ate, my mom talked to my dad about how I reacted to my first gift I saw, which was the doll. I hurried up and inhaled my food to rush back out into the living room where all my presents were awaiting me to tear them open. I noticed something, though. My doll wasn't where I left it. I looked around and realized it was on the couch, looking at me once more with those small black eyes. I don't remember putting it there, I thought weirdly. Though as an 8-year-old, my attention span is all over the place, and once my parents came to the living room, I started tearing through all the paper of my gifts, exposing video games for a system I have yet to have. Didn't think too much, though, of it. Threw everything where the rest was movies and clothes. My dad at the last minute had a surprise gift for me. It was a big and heavy one. At least at that point in my life, it was. I took it and set it down to open up. And seeing that it was an Xbox, I couldn't believe it. I was so excited and jumped around. I could hardly wait to play. Through all the excitement, though, I got this eerie feeling and looked back on the couch to still see the doll sitting there, staring. I tried to shrug it off and continued with my day. Once all the gifts were unwrapped, I helped my parents clean up and took all my gifts to my room. to enjoy and have fun. I set the doll on my nightstand by my bed. While I set it up my Xbox to the TV, the lights in my room go out. What? I whispered to myself in confusion. It was a pretty gray day out, with all the snow and stuff, so no sunlight to reflect in. I yelled for my dad, saying my room lights went out, so I went to go check on the breaker. I sat there waiting in the dark and silence, looking around the room, wondering to myself if maybe it was happening in other places, besides here. Wouldn't be the first time. We've had power outages before, time and again during this time of year, so I didn't really think too much of it. I looked over in the location of the doll. Again, wasn't where I put it. This time it was on the bed. Am I going crazy? I thought to myself. Maybe the lack of sleep was getting to me. So I decided in the time my dad was figuring out how to get the power on, I decided to take a nap, get a little rest. I dived into my bed under the covers and plopped my head on my soft cushiony pillow, laying the doll back on the nightstand, and then turning over to face my plain white walls featuring posters of Orlando Bloom and Johnny Depp. I giggled to myself as I looked at them, and then started to slumber off. Anna. Anna. I heard my name being called out while I drifted off. I stiffened up a bit, but tried to relax, thinking nothing of it, thinking I was just hearing things. Finally, under my Hello Kitty comforter, I drifted off into silence. It was dark. It peeked into my mind, where I soon started my dream. It formed in front of me. Everything was so bright. It looked like a sweets haven, with candy canes sticking out of the ground, scattered M&Ms covering the area all around me. It gave me a sense of joy, and I started bouncing around on the red, sugar-coated path. Stopping in my tracks, I spotted something pink and swirly. It was a cotton candy bush to my side. They looked so tasty, I jumped over to have a bite. I felt it melt in my mouth, so sweet. Then, I tasted something strange. Rusty coins? I spitted it out, this thick, deep, red liquid, to see it was blood. I looked in confusion, while watching the atmosphere grow dark. So the sky above me turned. The clouds rained, and everything started to melt. All that was left was this beige path I stood on, with both sides looking as if it was desert sands dissipating the land. Anna. That voice echoed to me. It was even louder this time, sounding like a little girl's voice. I narrowed my eyes up at the path to see a figure standing there, blonde, curly hair covering their face. It was pretty long and wavy. Their skin was pale as death. My body froze, not in fear, but from the cold air now surrounding me in the dark, thunderous land. Anna. The voice echoed again, coming from the region of the figure standing about 100 feet now from me. I didn't even see it move its feet. Now my heart's racing. I felt myself stop breathing for a minute and took a step back. Who is this? Why do they know my name? Why is everything so dark now? I then came back to looking at this figure after my thought processed. This isn't even right. For a dream, this seems way too straightforward. I saw that figure had moved forward, and that's when I saw its face. Those dark, abyssal eyes staring through me. It looked like my painted doll, only without a mouth. I wanted to wake up. I feel that if I stay, I may die. I heard people, when they die in their sleep, a demon is the last thing they see. I clenched my fist and yelled, "Why are you following me? What do you want?" A generalized form of questions to ask an unknown being. I could say at this point I was scared and mad. My dream had been destroyed in front of me for this nightmare. I noticed the clothes this being wore, same as my doll, only tattered and bloodied. As it stepped closer, I felt my body burn up like someone was putting me over a fire at a campsite. I looked over at my arms. They were turning dark and flaring up like burning paper. I ran my body, still burning, but I hoped if I ran it would stop. It got worse. The pain began to make me sweat. My skin was breaking off of me. This made no sense. It was raining, yet I was burning alive. Finally, I screamed and awoke from my dream. My parents rushed in frantically, thinking I may have hurt myself on something. Before I answered, I looked over at the clock. It was already 8 p.m. I can't believe I slept almost the whole day away. I must have been exhausted. I guess even kids sometimes need a little catch up on sleep. I'm sorry. It was just a really bad dream. I looked up at them and they had a sigh of relief. Well, it's dinner time, honey. Come on down. My mom ran her hands through my hair to comfort me. I nodded to her and got up from the bed steadily. I noticed my doll was gone. Again. This can't be a coincidence. I can't be this insane. I looked around the room this time. It was at the foot of my bed, laying face up at the ceiling. My eyes widened. I couldn't think logically of how this proceeded to happen, unless I moved it somehow in my sleep without knowing. At this point, I wanted to hide it, so I didn't have to look at its eerie expression. I couldn't tell my mom I wanted her to take it back. After all, it was a gift, and she seemed really happy when I saw it. I decided before heading downstairs for supper, I would put it in my closet, in this box of toys I had accumulated over the years of being a child and whatnot. My brain was hurting trying to figure out what's up with that doll, and why it gives me such a worried feeling. After putting it in the box, I darted out the door downstairs to eat. My mom had made some delicious tamales. Normally she does Southern or Oriental food, but tonight she decided to do something a little different. I talked with them about the crazy dream I had at the table. They giggled a little, saying how they had dreams like that when they were little, not so much now. I almost thought I was crazy for dreaming up something like that. This put me a little more at ease. After dinner, I put the dishes in the sink and went into the living room to watch some Lord of the Rings with my parents. I guess you can say we were a bit of movie buffs. It was nice though, for a family night of watching movies and forgetting about the craziness that had proceeded through the day. Shivers went up my spine and goosebumps arose on my skin. I tried to keep my composure, seeing as I sat in between my parents on the couch, and I'd rather them not look at me queer-like. The voice kept whispering louder and louder, to where my head started pounding. So I got up and walked to the stairs, looking back at my parents to say, I'm going to bed, my head hurts. It really hurts. Sorry guys, I love you. And ran up the stairs quickly, to hear them both say, We love you, honey, good night, in their light, concerning voices. I ran into the bathroom, and I slammed the door shut. I looked in the mirror, and my heart about fell out of my chest. I saw it. I saw that doll. That doll's face was looking right at me. I closed my eyes quickly and stopped breathing for a second to count backwards in my head. My mom always taught me to do this. If I saw anything scary, it would go away. So I counted. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I opened my eyes and looked again. It was gone. I could breathe a sigh of relief, only for a second, just to see it flash up again. I ran out of the bathroom and darted to my room, opened the door quickly, just to stare at the doll on my bed again. I tried to turn on my lights quickly, and they wouldn't. Those eyes, I stared at them, almost paralyzed with fear, as they changed shape from this innocent expression to this devilish smile. It grew in size to cheek. I tried to move back to the door. When I was about to put the hand on the door, I flung forward into the room, and the door shut. I tried to crawl over to the door. Before I could reach the handle, I heard this little girl's cracked, whispery voice, inches from my ear. Anna. I turned so slow. My heart was in my throat at this point. I couldn't even scream or say a word to help myself. Once I reached halfway to the right side of my shoulder, I narrowed my eyes and saw a long, blonde, curly-haired creature with white porcelain skin, all cracked and black as though it was broken. They crawled from the bed onto the floor, cracking every bone in their body. I couldn't see their face. Not even a breath was heard from them. Was that the doll? Coming to a terrifying conclusion, I didn't even think twice as it crawled closer. I was able to move my legs again and ran to the door. It wouldn't open. I tried twisting the knob aggressively, pulling on it, then slamming the door with my fists. Nothing had worked. No choice at this point but to call out to my parents. Mom! Dad! I could hear it cracking, sounding more like glass breaking now, inching over the carpet floor towards me. I cried, slamming the door with my fist repeatedly as it drew near. I could now feel its cold presence behind me. Why? Why didn't I say something sooner? Why didn't I tell my feelings? Tell my parents about the feelings I was having, this weird doll. I couldn't think straight at this point. As this thought came into play, I could hear my parents outside my door, leaving me with a glimmer of hope that didn't last long. My legs were suddenly grabbed from under me and I felt my head hit the floor. I grabbed the carpet, digging in for my dear life. My parents struggled trying to get the door open, yelling if I was all right. I cried and screamed out to them. As it had dragged me away, I tried to keep a grip on the floor. This creature then dug its jagged nails into me through my ankles. I could feel them puncture my skin. I knew at this point I was bleeding. I could feel my blood trickling onto the carpet. Knowing I couldn't hold on much longer, my adrenaline started dying down. I grew tired. I heard my parents struggling, frantically trying to open the door. Still, but to no avail. My ears started to ring as I screamed in pain. My nails ripped from my fingers as I lost grip of the floor. I was quickly dragged under the bed. I could see the remnants of my blood from my fingers, leaving a trail on the floor. My cries fell quiet as I was swallowed by the darkness. It fell silent in the room. As the parents were able to finally open the door, all they saw was that doll, sitting neatly on the bed, looking at them, and this time with a smile. Hey guys, Pixie Kitty here. Hope you guys enjoyed my video. If you did, slash that like button and murder that subscribe button, and I will see you in the next video. Alright, peace!